Good evening, everybody. This is Andrea Hines, and I am here with Ruth Griffin and Victoria E. Henderson, and we make up the team for Authors Up. We are the ladies in the house, and we are glad that you are going to be in the house with us this evening.
Yes.
Very, very special show planned, and we've been waiting for this opportunity for some time. And it's a very special. I'm going to jump right into it. I'm not wasting it. So we're happy for those who are joining us this evening. But we have a very special guest who is joining us tonight for our weekend review. We cannot wait to invite her in. And as a matter of fact, although she's not going to be able to actually speak with us, which we
the people gonna be mad that they missed her. They're gonna be mad.
I'm telling you they are. But I'm going to usually Victoria introduces our guest, but the guest for the weekend review, we thought it only fitting that should be introduced by Ruth Griffin. So
Exactly.
Ruth, go ahead and introduce our guests before we get into our weekend review.
Well, everybody, please.
Drum roll.
Welcome, drum roll. Yes, Miss Mercy. Oh, there we go. Miss Mercy. There she is. Look at her.
Look at the baby. Looking like a mama and a look at the baby.
She is almost officially 3 months old, trying to turn over, laughing, and she likes books.
Aww.
Also, her other grandmother told me that she is a fan of Beauty and the Beast.
All right.
So
is she cute?
I know.
And her name is
Mercy Maria.
Mercy Maria, and she's
That's why I call her Eminem.
Yeah, she's our little peanut M&M.
And she's so tiny. When I first saw her, I said she's a little peanut, so she's our peanut M&M. And her abuela is so
right. That's
good.
right.
Look at her. She's so cute.
Pictures. I tell you, she has just got the cutest little face. She's so sweet. I can't wait.
See, this is all I talk about every week. So
right. I don't blame you.
Yes.
I can't think of anything better.
Oh, look. So I had this, my mother-in-law hasn't met her yet, but she was like, well, just, send me out a photo. So I was like, okay, cool. I emailed Samantha. I'm like, look, send me a recent photo so I can get it printed for your grandmother. She sent me this. And I'm like, no, I'm printing one from you too. So I put it up on the wall. And I got the hammer out to put a nail up. My husband's like, what are you doing? Don't do that. We're getting ready to sell the house. And I was like, well, no, we have to put it up there. He's like, well, just take Samantha off and put her up. I'm like,
there you go.
Okay. So,
Samantha, you have been replaced.
She is just precious, and you all who are coming in are going to get to enjoy that cute
absolutely.
For a few more minutes as we do our weekend review.
Look at her.
I'm going to start us off, and my weekend review. Eminem.
Yeah. Oh, and the little video of her turning over. Oh my
Oh my
God.
God.
Joy to my heart this week. I tell you, she really did. She really did. And I did have an opportunity to go to South Carolina, have a little downtime there, and I was happy about that. I'm doing some things, getting a new platform ready so that I can share some of the videos and some of the work and some of the things that have been going on. So Miss Ruth is helping me with that, and I appreciate that. So that was my weekend review. Coming back home, we were looking up at the sky and how beautiful it was, and how the fluffy white clouds were out there. And then we came to a stop.
Ay, ay,
And I don't mean a stop. I don't mean traffic
ay.
going a little slow. I mean a dead parking lot.
Wow.
We were on 95, and I think we must have stayed there for an hour and a half.
What was going on?
There was an accident. We did not see it,
Uh,
but Linda had looked it up to see what was happening.
yeah.
Found out that there was an accident with several cars involved.
Oh wow.
We just, it's one of those things where there's nothing you can do. You can't fly over it. So you just-
Yes, yes. There was no alternate routes and nothing because that is only one way.
So we sat and we sat some more.
Okay.
But made it home in time.
We are so glad.
It's here and get ready for our good show we got planned for tonight, and planned based on a response from different people, people of our guests and our viewers, and we're going to answer the call with that tonight. So that was my weekend review. And how about you, Victoria?
Well, you know what? It was a pretty good week, I must say. I had a wonderful guest on my show, Living Life Victoria. Past Monday night, my cousin came back for part 2 of Living Life with unique abilities.
Yeah.
And we talked about disabilities, how it's perceived. And it was a really good show. Had a lot of good feedback from it. And just raising awareness that of some issues that you may not think of. And I was glad I was able to do that. And then it helped me a little bit with my embarrassment and my shame, having to at times use my devices, because I have a walker and I do have a cane, and I have to use the scooter when I go to the store because I can't stand my scooter.
Yeah.
So it was just a really good show. So, and work was work. We're at the end of the doing things for the end of the fiscal year, turn it over to the new year. So there's a lot going on. But we are in the summer hours where we're off on Fridays. And I love that. So I got to have a nice 3-day weekend, still talking to my nutritionist and talk to my counselor. So everything it's just gone along swimmingly. So I just had a pretty good week. Now I'm here with my friends and my new god baby. She's so cute. Look at her. So that was my week. All is well. That's all I'm going to say. All is well.
Good. And Miss Ruth, tell us about your week absent of the baby. There's something else in your week other than the baby.
I don't agree with that, but I will comply. So, obviously our viewers, at least in America, know we're in a heat wave, and this is not the time for the AC to go out, but of course it did. So we had our handyman come out, and he tried one thing and it worked, and then it didn't, and then he came back out and tried another thing and it worked, and then it didn't, and it kept shutting off. So now we're It's 90 degrees in the house. I
No.
believe, yeah, we got fans and portable AC going on. There may be background noise because the windows are open, so we don't roast. But
No.
well, you know what? That's all. It could be worse. So
Yeah,
I'm
it could be.
okay.
Yeah.
And there are other things. I got to launch my newsletter this week.
Yes.
Yes.
I am excited because I actually put in writing the books that I'm going to be writing for the next few years. 'Cause
Yes, I
I've
read
talked
it.
about it. Yes, I talked about it before. I'm becoming a serial fiction writer, meaning I'm going to be publishing one chapter at a time until the completion of the books. And it was kind of scary after I sent the email because I was like, oh my God, now I got to actually do it.
Do it,
But
right? Right.
that's the good kind of fear because it makes you get ready. And I was like, I was excited. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. And if anybody wants to subscribe, go to Substack and just look for Ruth E. Griffin or Ruth Writes. You will find my newsletter. So
Oh, Ruth, wait. Are you ready? Finished?
what's that?
Are you finished?
Yes.
Okay. No, go ahead. I have one more thing I forgot.
Oh, no. I am that honestly, that was the highlight of the week. And the only other thing I've got is Miss Mercy here. So
Oh man, that's the big
but you
thing.
said I can't talk about her. So I guess I'm done.
She's so cute. She's so cute. Oh.
All right,
But
what's
you
your other
made
thing?
me think that about my blog. I did put a blog out on Monday. I hadn't written in maybe 2 years, maybe 2, 3. So, but I put my blog out Monday, and so I feel the juice is coming again. So
Good.
I'm really, really happy about that. When you said that about your blog, I said, "Oh, I forgot to say I put my blog out." So, VictoriaEHenderson.com is my blog on WordPress, and so I think I'm back in the saddle.
All right.
Very good. Very good. Oh, the baby's gone.
I know. Can't she
gotta
just
get
be our fourth guest down at the bottom?
She is so sweet. And Ruth, please thank Samantha
Oh, of
Yes.
course. I
for
will.
sending us along the picture and giving us permission to
Sure.
share our little M&M with
Yes,
the rest of
yes.
the
Of
world
course.
because she's such a sweetheart.
Thank you to the parents. We just love her.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we're going to go ahead with the meat of the show, as we want to call it, and we're going to have Miss Ruth kind of start us off and tell you what we're going to be doing tonight. And if you know of anybody that you've heard say, "I want to write a book," or has had anything in them that is just chomping at the bit to get some words on paper or on the computer or wherever it is they're going to write their masterpiece, be sure to share this program with them. There's going to be a lot of good information. And go ahead, Miss Ruth. I turn it over to you.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Obviously we've talked a lot about writing tips. We've talked about how to overcome writer's block. We've talked a lot over the last almost 6 years, but I don't think we ever touched on publishing options. Okay. And tonight I wanted to bring those up because I've had that question come up lately, and I know for me, I try to keep up with what the market is doing, and I think it is important that authors understand what their options are because some may work better for others. I spoke to an author this week. She started off thinking that she wanted to do traditional publishing, and then she said, "No, I'll go with a hybrid publisher." And then when I spoke with her, she's like, "You know what? My next book, I need to be self-published." So, that's
3 different,
right there with one author. And I thought, you know what? This is the perfect time to talk about it. So we've set up a Q&A, different scenarios, different questions, and we're going to answer those tonight. And hopefully If you guys, hopefully we will answer your question. If not, go ahead and put it in the chat or, email us, send us the question and we'll try to get to it. So let's get started.
All righty. All righty. Well, I'll take two. I'll take the even numbers, Victoria, and you can take the odd ones.
Okay, that's fine. That means I begin then.
Okay, if you want to.
I will. Okay. All right. Let's see.
How fitting.
Right? Well, did we say we weren't going to talk about this one?
We are.
I know that's the one we said. Okay.
We are.
All right. We are.
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. I know there's a book in me, and I got two. I got two on the table. How do I begin? Tell us, Ruth. How do I begin?
All right, and honestly, the comments Victoria was making, I almost said let's take that question off because this is a different topic, but I think it is a good topic. We have covered it in a show called The Writer Within, and I would invite our guests or our audience to go back and look at our show. You can follow us on social media. You can find it on our YouTube page. But also, I want to take the opportunity to promote the fact that I have written a book version of The Writer Within. So I am polishing up the manuscript now. I'm going to be sending it out for the foreword and the afterwards. And I pray that by September, you guys will have it in your hands. And this book will give you a how-to. It is not a step. It is not, do these 6, steps and you'll get the book. No, it is introspective. It is, it gives you a place to start.
Oh, I love it.
And then you do the work. And that's the thing, because honestly, I can tell you do step 1, 2, 3, and 4, but if you're not at the place where you're ready or where you understand, the book is not going to get written. So
right.
That was my hope in writing that book. And again, it may not have answered your question, but
yes,
the resources will be there. So you can start by going to the show. It was called The Writer Within, and it gives you like a brief outline. The book will go into much more detail, and it will offer more resources so that you can get started.
I love it. Congratulations. Yeah. I love it. And when your book comes out, we're going to have to interview you about the writing process with this book. I love it because that really does answer the question. And a lot of times we do have people ask us, well, I want to write a book. I have some poetry. I have some thoughts I've written down. Where do I begin? Perfect. You have answered the call, Ruth. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yes. Let's see. I'm number 2 here. You have completed your manuscript. Your dream is now done.
Oof.
Your manuscript. What's the next step?
All right. Well, the next step, and honestly, I would say that at this point, the next step is to decide what you want. What you're at a fork in the road, and you have to decide which way you're going to go. Because, and this is where our title comes in, publishing options. There are 4 options that you could take. 5, but you don't want to take the 5th. First one is traditional publishing, and let me define all this because I believe in shared terminology. Good. That way, everybody's talking about the same thing. Mm-hmm. Traditional publishing is how publishing has been handled for the last almost 200 years. It is going with a big publishing house, whether that's Penguin, Inklore, whatever that publishing house is. Those are your options. They would handle the publishing for you. They would handle the marketing for you. And usually that's a good thing. They have a bigger marketing budget. They have they have a lot more to offer. However, they are limited in how many they can do. So When you go with traditional publishing, you have to understand that out of the over 2 million books that are published every year in the United States, they only handle maybe 1% of the books that are published.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So you're looking at, at a market that is saturated with books, and they have to say which one is going to bring us
Right.
the most return on the money.
So they may look at my book and say, that's not what we're looking at right now.
No, if you even get a response.
How about that?
And,
Okay.
and again, I don't want to discourage anybody, because there are people who do get contracts. So if traditional publishing is what you want, there are certain ways to go about it, and you could certainly pursue it. There's also hybrid publishing. Now, these are publishing companies where you pay a fee for them to edit, for them to do the cover design. These usually also provide marketing. They have PR, and all the benefits of the traditional publishing, but you do pay a fee for that.
Okay.
The biggest thing about these is that there are a lot of companies out there. You have to sift through it to find the right one and to find the ones that aren't scams, unfortunately. So the next one is self-publishing. You do all the work, which means that you have to find your own editor, you have to find your own designer, you have to find all the resources you need so that you can put a quality book out there. Because believe you me, if your manuscript is riddled with mistakes, if it has a cover that looks like it was done in 1974, any of that, it will get torn apart by the trolls and the readers out there.
Okay.
The last one is a serial writer, a serial publisher, like what I am looking to go into. And this is a person who publishes a chapter at a time. There are websites where you can do that. You can do that off of your own website. You can do it on Patreon. You can do it on Substack. You can do it. There was another one, I forgot the name of it, but that one is declining, so it's not even an option anymore.
Okay.
Royal Road is another one. So, and the thing is, there have been authors I've been reading that get contracts out of these. You can monetize them, so you're getting paid monthly or yearly. So you have options, but the next step after completing your manuscript is deciding what you want to do, which road you want to take. The last option is to do absolutely nothing at all, which unfortunately is more common than
right.
And
right.
to me, that's sad, because that book, if you've written it, it may need to be out there. Someone may need to read it.
Yes.
So it's probably best to figure out which way you want to go and stay away from that fork in the road.
Okay. All right.
So
before we go into something else, Ruth, which one of the four do you think is the most popular right now?
honestly, I would say that self-publishing is
Publishing.
Yeah, I thought that's what it would be.
I would say, and it's not even popular. It is depending on the budget. So more often than not, about 20, 30 years ago, there was a stigma to self-publishing. People thought, okay, well, you're unable to get a contract with a traditional publisher. Your book won't sell, so you just self-publish it. And they look at that as, obviously your book is not good. The first person that I published, that's what they were told. They were told, oh, your book will not sell. It will, you just, pretty much tag your book, as unsellable.
Oh,
and
wow.
to be frank, their book is still selling now.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, no, it is. And that's the thing. It is, you have to, unfortunately with self-publishing, like I said, the onus comes back on the author.
Right.
To do everything that a traditional publishing house would
the marketing.
do, and that includes the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, if you can keep that up, your book doesn't have a shelf life.
Right.
So,
right.
I would say right now, honestly, it is a toss-up between hybrid and self-publishing. The stigma is going down, because more quality books are being put out there, and it just depends on the budget. There are some authors that I've worked with who said, I know nothing, I don't want to deal with it, just publish it for me. And then others who, like I said, I spoke to a young lady this week, said, I've done graphics, I've done writing, I want to learn. So it depends on the author, but I would say it's a balance between hybrid and self-publishing.
Self-publishing.
Okay. All right. Well, that leads me to a question. Do publishers provide editing services?
Yes. Well, let me rephrase. Some do. And this is a question that you will need to ask when you're querying it. So traditional publishers, yes, they absolutely do. The not benefit of going with a traditional publisher, in my opinion, is that they also now control how the story goes.
Oh, wow.
Based on what they think may sell. So what you've written may be good, or if it's not, they may go, we need to change this part. Remember, we had a guest, I don't remember his name, I think it was Mark Collins, where he said he was told that he cannot do 12 volumes because that's just too many.
Right.
And quite frankly, you write what you need to write, and you control the story. So it is, I would say, ask questions when you speak to publishers, whether it's a hybrid publisher or a traditional publisher. Some hybrid publishers do not provide editing. The first publisher that I went with, they said, I need you to provide a print-ready manuscript, you need to provide a cover, you need to provide everything, we'll just print it. And that was fine, but that's also what encouraged me to learn the process for myself. So
right.
You just have to ask questions, or you're going to end up with something that you may not be ready for. Because if your book isn't edited, and I know we've talked about this, you should not be editing your own book. You should have someone else helping you do that. So if your publisher doesn't do that, you can't just sit there over the weekend and write it, because your head will fill in the spaces of the words that you wrote out.
Got you.
It will, whatever you thought it was supposed to say, that's what your brain will tell you. And then you go back and realize, oh man, I missed that. So some publishers do, some publishers don't. Ask questions.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I'm going to skip to 6.
Sure.
And that is, when should you start looking for a publisher? Do you start at the very beginning when you're saying, I want to get this book out there, before you've even finished writing or finished the process? Since there are so many options, should you begin at that point to research perhaps some of these hybrid publishing companies, or do you just wait until you've gotten it all together? Because as you were saying, there's some offerings that you get depending on where you funnel your book, I'll put it that way, because some places do have editors, and they're different types of editors, I think.
Yes.
So at what point do you start looking at, what is how am I going to choose my fork in the road?
I would say, honestly, start thinking about it early, because you have to be realistic about what you're writing. You have to be realistic about, and unfortunately, what it comes down to, we live in a capitalist society. We live in a place where if they don't have a return for their money, they are not going to invest in it.
Wow.
So you have to be able to say, is my book, I won't say that we all don't think that our books are good enough for that, but we have to be realistic enough to say, okay, will someone look at that and go, okay, yes, I'm willing to invest? So I would say early on, go ahead. start thinking about what you want. And again, we have to be ready. Think back to Bob Berg. How many rejections did he get? But he continued
Right.
until he got a contract. And that book has sold millions. Millions and millions.
Millions. Not with a one in the S.
Yes. So you have to consider, and that was the route that he wanted to take. He could have taken the self-publishing route. He could have taken the, hybrid route, and I'm sure he would have been fine. And to be honest, that would have worked out.
Mhm.
It may have taken a little bit longer to get into the mainstream the way it did, but I think it would have worked out. But the fact that he kept pushing him and his co-author, and please forgive me, I do not recall his name, but him and the co-author decided to take the traditional route. When I started self-publishing, I understood, it's not that I didn't think my books were good enough. It's just, I want to get these out. This is how I'm going to do it. So it is, I think if you start early on and understand this is how I want to publish, then you can be prepared when you reach the end of your manuscript. Because at that point, yes, like you said, Andrea, you can start looking for hybrid publishers. This shouldn't be a decision you make. Okay, I finished the book on Monday, and by Friday of the following week, I made a decision. Because you will need to look it up. You will need to look into the background of some of these publishers. You will need to look reviews. I mean, it's like everything else. Go on to Amazon and look at the negative reviews and see what people are saying. You want to understand, do they give you a return on your money? The authors who worked with them, are they happy with the service that they got? Are they responsive? Again, I'm talking to another author who said, hey, they were responsive up until I wrote that first check. And now I can't get them on the phone. So start looking now, because it may take as long to go, hey, this is the publisher that I want to go with, because I think that they'll do a good job with my book. That's your baby. I wouldn't leave Mercy with just anybody.
Exactly.
So you don't want to do the same thing with the book that you just spent months for.
You got that right.
So start looking now.
And that leads us to my next question. I'm skipping around a little bit too.
That's fine.
How do you get your book before a publisher? I've got my baby already. How do I push the baby out?
Okay. All right. Before a traditional publisher, and I'm glad you asked this, because the process has changed. It used to be that you could query. Yes, it used to be that you could query the publishers directly. I remember sending my first manuscript directly to a publisher, an editor. Mm-hmm. It was as simple as looking. They used to have the writers. I'm sure they still put it out, but they had a book called The Writer's Market. And again, this was like 22 years ago. Mm-hmm. They had a book called The Writer's Market, and you would look in there to see who what publishing house, what they were taking, who was the editor, who you would send emails to, and or letters to. Send them a copy of your manuscript. Not the copy of your manuscript, like the first chapter or the first 5 pages, something like that. That process has changed. So if you want to become traditionally published, you will first need to get an agent, a literary agent. Yes, and you will have to make sure that they work in the genre that you write in. So a poet, Andrea, you would have to get a literary agent who specializes in poetry. Same with nonfiction, same with fiction. So is it science fiction? Is it romance? Is it romantasy? So you have to get a literary agent so that they can speak on behalf of you to the editors, to the traditional publishing house. So that is the absolute first thing you would have to do. Again, I don't know. Like I said, the Writer's Market, I believe that they are still publishing it, but Google is probably your best friend, and they can probably help you figure out who who you would need to contact to get in front of. And usually that requires for you to send either a pitch or treatment, because they are not going to sit down and read your manuscript.
Oh, wow.
You send their manuscript more often than not, even to an agency. You send your manuscript, that will go in the slush file. So they won't even look at your email, I promise, because they got enough to read. They don't want it. They don't want that. So yeah, so that's traditionally published. Give me the question again.
It was how do you get your book before a publisher? And,
Okay.
and just let me just interject. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you. Because I didn't know that's how it was done, but because you've handled our books, we didn't even have to go through that process. And so I it was like, wow, an eye opener for me when you said that,
Yeah.
all that you just said, because my very first job was a publishing company in New York. It was called Vanish Press. And at that time, people were sending in their typed manuscripts. And that's how, they would go through they would look at the manuscripts and they'd make a choice. But it was a vanity publisher. That's what they used to call them. And if you had the money, they publish it. It didn't even matter what the subject matter was. If they deemed it, okay, this is worthy, that's how it was back then. And that was about 30-something years ago. So thank you, Ruth, for standing in the gap for us to get out. We are very blessed to have you. And I just had to put that in there.
Absolutely. I'll be honest, I never thought about becoming a publisher, but once that opportunity was literally thrown in my lap, I was like,
I can do this.
My brain is set up for it, and I love every moment of it. So yes, so
it's
so hybrid is a little bit different. Some hybrid publishers are specialized, so again, like the bigger publishing houses, they do imprints, which means that they may do like the big ones, like say like Becoming by Michelle Obama. But then if somebody wants to do like a children's, they may have an imprint that does only children's. Penguin, I think, or Random House created an imprint so they can now start printing mangas from Korea and Japan and areas. So, if an author from those areas wants to now publish their books in America, they now go through Inklore, which is I believe, the division of, I believe it's Random House. So,
wow.
But with hybrid publishers, again, you would have to find out first if they have, if they cover the subject that you do.
Yes.
And then a lot of them do have times during the year, or where you do submissions. And you would pretty much query them the way they used to be for the traditional publishing. You can see what their process is. Again, we no longer send completed manuscripts. More often than now, it's a pitch or even a few chapters. So.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
There are a couple of things that sometimes we can put the cart before the horse in terms of the things that we are really concerned about. Wherein we should be concerned about crafting whatever the story is and doing it in a way that is engaging and all of those other things. But we want to know about the copyright. How who finds the copyright? How do I get a copyright? Do I need a copyright? And the other part of that is who searches the title. Because that's something that I never thought about in the beginning until I started working with this Griffin Publishing, which is a wonderful publishing house. But when I looked up, when I went in, and I can't even remember the particular book that it was, there were like 20 books that had the same title, not a similar title,
Right.
the same title. And I wasn't thinking about it then, but after we are talking even tonight, whose responsibility is that? I know that when you're doing traditional, it seems like you have wait a minute, maybe it's more on the hybrid side, because when you're doing the hybrid, you're paying them.
Mm-hmm.
They provide all of these services. At least they tell you that they provide all of these services. So is that, are they responsible for that piece of it too?
Um, so let's start with the copyright.
Mm-hmm.
So just to understand, the book, the manuscript that you put together is your intellectual property. It belongs to you. And at the very least, I always counsel the authors that I work with to save the original files, save extra files, create an archive in your folders, because those are timestamps. Those show that you were writing the book. You were writing that manuscript. It is your intellectual copyright. Unfortunately, that does not always stand up with publishers, let me rephrase that, with printers. I know of one author. She has had several of her books stolen on Amazon, where someone pirated her books and they published them for themselves. She has published enough books that she now gets certificates of copyright on each of them, because when she first when she first had her book pirated, Amazon would not remove it unless she had that certificate. So even though it is your work, and she could show that she was the one who wrote it, she could show that it was hers, but without that certificate, Amazon would not remove the pirated book. So
wow.
I think it is in the best interest of authors to, seek a copyright. And you can go to copyright.gov, create an account, and copyright it for yourself.
Okay.
Most traditional publishers will do that. Traditional publishers will do that for the author. Unfortunately, I have not seen, well, no, let me rephrase that. There are some hybrid publishers that will provide a copyright. But again, you have to ask. And I would be leery. Please understand that to get a manuscript copyrighted is only $65. If they are charging you $1,000,
Yep.
keep walking.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I said you have to start asking questions early on, because there are people who are just in it for the money. They're in there to grift. People who don't, authors who have worked so hard and just want to get their work out, but they may not know. They may not know that, hey, it doesn't take all that. I can copyright it myself for $65.
Oh wow.
So, and all it takes is just, again, creating the account, putting in the information, and then uploading
Look at
a
that.
copy of the manuscript. So it is very important, I would say at this point, for authors to make sure that their work, number one, is copyrighted if they go with a traditional publisher, that the hybrid publisher, if they do copyright it, that they are not charging you an arm, a leg, and 2 feet, and eye and an ear. But if nothing else, to do it for yourself. So that's the copyright question. Andrea, what was the other one?
The other one was what was the other one? Let me see.
The title. You were talking about the title of the book.
The title.
Yes.
Okay. With traditional publishers, they will have a say. So again, they want to make sure that the book sells.
Yes.
So, there are, they may look at your title, the one that you've chosen, and they may go, I'm not feeling that. There may be, and the funny thing is, about 3 years ago, I started reading Asian, they're called light novels, anything under 65,000 words. And their titles are, oh my God, this one particular book, His Majesty and His Hardworking New Bride's Dangerously Sweet Honeymoon. That's the title. That's one of the shorter ones.
Say that again, real slow.
His Majesty and His Hardworking New Bride's Dangerously Sweet Honeymoon.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Again, that's one of the shorter ones.
What?
The shorter one.
Yes.
I wouldn't even read that book. What?
Yeah. You know what? No. There was another one.
It's gotta be another one.
The reincarnated healer betrayed by the hero is the Demon Lord's Beloved, Volume 1.
So that's the whole book. The title.
Right.
But you know what? Again, you have to consider market. You have to consider, because this is very popular. I've seen even longer titles than that. They're very descriptive, and you go, that actually told me a lot. It's like trailers nowadays for movies. They put in this plot point, and you're like, yeah, do I really want to go spend $30 at a movie theater? I saw it on the, 3 minutes.
Well, you know what? Let me just stop and put a shameless plug in for Studio Griffin. Studio Griffin will help you with your copywriting. Studio Griffin will help you with your title selection. Yes. Studio Griffin would like to make sure that you do not put out a mess. And Studio Griffin walks in excellence. So please, if you have a manuscript that you would like to self-publish, we suggest that you go with Studio Griffin.
Yeah. Thank you. But, and again, like Andrea said, it is good. Go ahead. The title that you get, usually I wait until like I'm halfway into either the planning or even the writing of the book before I title the book. Okay. Because that's when, for me, and that's my process, for me, that's when I may come across something that just fits. And it may be one word, it may be from a quote, it may be from part of the book. So, but the way Andrea said, once you get that title, go to Amazon, go to Barnes & Noble, go to Goodreads, and Google the title. If there are 50 other books with the absolute same title, you have to understand that your book may not be searchable as you think. It will not be the first one to come up. Yes.
Right.
So think about the variation. And again, that's why I wait, because you in writing your book, you may come across something that just stirs something in you. You may come across a quote that just fits perfectly. Use that.
Wow. You definitely helped me with my book. I don't even remember what the first title of my book was, but I know what it is. But you did. We had that conversation, and I went and looked, and I was like, "Wow, it's 50 books. Oh, we got to change that." We had a couple of comments from the audience. Nakayeta said, "Good points. I love this topic." And she also said, "Love your hair color, Miss Ruth."
Thank you. Thank you.
And she did say, "Thanks so much. I love your advice." She said she's going to use this, which is excellent.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And I do think with this that we have skimmed, but we have gone deep enough that I think that we have given people a good explanations of I want to. I don't know why I can't get road mapping out of my mind.
That's a good way. No, that's a good word.
But it is the right word, because I will say road mapping is the word I use in The Writer Within, and
All
that is
right.
exactly what you need is a road map for this. You don't go into this blind.
Right.
Well, I'm glad. Then no wonder it was stuck in my head.
Right.
But there are so many people out there who have stories that they want to tell. They
Yeah.
don't know where to start. They don't know what to look for. They don't know,
Exactly.
what their options are. And I still have a hybrid publishing company that contacts me periodically about wanting to help me with my romance novel, When He Whispers. Well, that's
Wow.
not a romance novel. It's
You
a
know what?
it's a collection of poetic work. And I think if after 6, 7, 8 years, you're still calling me and still don't know what the book is about,
I
those are
think
things to look out for.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. But they like the title though. They think it's a love story.
Yeah,
When
evidently.
he whispers.
Here's the thing. I want to make mention of one more thing because, again, unfortunately, there are a lot of grifters out there.
Mhm.
Be leery of anyone who contacts you.
Okay.
If they want to say, "Oh, our
I
procurement
want to talk
manager,"
to you
or
about this.
I want this, and we want to offer this to you, be leery of it.
Okay.
I'm not saying, 9 times out of 10, I would say even 10 times out of 10, they are looking for a way to get your money.
Oh wow.
Unfortunately, if you go on some of these Reddit boards and some of these cure boards online, people are out there just to get your money, and
Right.
a lot of times they will sit there and badmouth even legitimate hybrid publishers because there are so many bad actors out there who are giving legitimate companies bad names simply because a few people just looking for a way to get your
For
money.
the money.
Right. So
Right.
what I
So
shouldn't do is put out on my social media or some kind of way. I have a manuscript. Can anybody help me with publishing?
absolutely
Do
not. The
not do that.
algorithm, yeah, no, the
Yes.
algorithm will pick it up and you will be, no,
Yes.
no, do your homework. There are no easy passes in this life.
All right. All
It will
right.
be worth,
Research.
yes, research it, and it will be worth the time and the work that you put into it. Once you find the publisher who is right for your book, then you can get that book out.
All right. Studio Griffin.
Well, I tell you what, Ruth, as always, you have come through with right information, the information we need in a way
Yes.
that we can understand it and move forward with it and produce some wonderful things, because I know that there are many authors out there. There's writers for authors by authors, and this is
Yes.
the forum for it. And
Yes.
I thank you for being a publisher of integrity,
Yes.
and
Yes.
one who would not just look at what I submit and say, "Yeah, okay, we can go do that,"
Right. That part.
without saying we can go do this, but this part over here, we're gonna have to fix that.
Amen.
So I thank you for
Yes.
that, and I hope that those who have listened tonight will encourage others, and just let them know there's some information out there that's going to help you in this journey, so that you're
Right.
not stumbling and falling all over the place. And I can't wait for The Writer Within. I love the title. I know the information is absolutely going to be priceless, and it is going to be something that so many people need and will benefit from. So thank you so much. Thank you. Like I had said, thank you, Jesus, for Miss Ruth.
Amen.
I feel the same way, like I had. We thank him every day for Miss Ruth.
Okay. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah.
Well, that is it for us for tonight. We ran a little bit over, but I think it was worth it, and it was worth every word.
And we could keep on going. I mean,
We
it's so
did.
good.
No, wait, one last shot.
The baby.
Night, night.
The baby. The baby. That's our little peanut for those joining late.
We are so silly. When it comes to this baby, we are just crazy. But thank you. Thank you for the beginning and the end.
Exactly.
That was wonderful. And we will have a show for you next week. So be looking for us right here at 7 p.m. on Sunday evening for another edition of Authors Up. We appreciate you. We couldn't do this without you. And we love the fact that you love the fact that we are here on Sunday night. So please come back and join us. There's more. We've got more great books and great authors, great stories to share with you, and you don't want to miss any of it, not one bit. So that is it for us for tonight. Ruth, do you have any final words for us? You've been talking all night long.
Oh, right.
Just quickly, we are on social media. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, Authors Up Show, and soon we will have a website. So stay tuned for that. I'm so excited. I think we'll just have to take a show, just sit and admire how beautiful it is.
Website. Oh my gosh.
So stay tuned for that. If you have questions about anything we talked about tonight, if you're interested in becoming a guest on the show, although I will say we are booked up for the rest of the year. So if you want to become a guest on our show, please email us in August. But you can email us at authorsup@gmail.com. But if you have any questions, we'd love to answer them. And we will have a replay of this broadcast on ALH Broadcasting on Saturday at 7 p.m. But we will also be uploading it to our YouTube and to our podcast about midweek. So make sure, get a copy, check us out there.
All right.
There you go. You got all the information that you need. You have information that you can share. You are just well informed. And we thank Ruth for that. And we thank Authors Up, and we thank you, our listeners and our viewers, for being with us tonight. And that is it. We
All
are
right.
out.
Good night, Burns girls.
Absolutely amazing week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.